Hey kids, how are you today? I hope everybody's doing fine. Today's story is about when Moses took the Israelites out of Egypt and then God gave them the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments were commands or rules for the Israelites to live by because they were coming out of the country and they had no formal nation and no real rules. So they, like us, all need rules to live by. So let's go to the story, and then we'll talk about the Ten Commandments. The story starts after God's 10 plagues allowed Pharaoh to let Moses and the Israelites free from Egypt. So I'm reading from the Berenstain Bears Bible book, and this is the Ten Commandments, Exodus 14th chapter. After the Israelites left Egypt, Pharaoh grew angry again. He changed his mind about letting them go. So he took his army and went after them. Moses led God's people to the shores of the wide sea called the Red Sea. He did not know how to get across. Then they all saw the army of the Pharaoh coming behind them, and they were getting scared. Here's Pharaoh and his army coming over here, and up here, they're stuck. They can't go any further, and behind them is Pharaoh's army, and they have to get across the Red Sea. So Moses lifted up his staff and asked God to help them. God parted the waters of the Red Sea, and the people were able to walk across it. Look, he made a path the whole way through. And you see the poor dead fish on the bottom there? He made two big walls of water there, and so the Israelites were able to walk right across it. But once the people were across, Pharaoh and his men tried to follow them. But the waters came crashing down on the army, and they were destroyed. They couldn't get through the water. Moses and the people gave thanks to God for saving them. They were happy that they weren't taken over by Pharaoh's army. So, while Moses was leading the Israelites to their new land, they grew hungry and thirsty. Moses asked God for help. Pieces of bread called manna fell down from the sky to feed the people. See, they're picking up the manna on there, the pieces of bread that fell down. God was providing for them. And since they were thirsty, Moses struck a rock with his staff, and a spring of fresh water gushed out. The people were very happy. That must have been a really hard stick, huh? So, God led the Israelites to a mountain in the wilderness. There God called Moses to the top of the mountain and said, "I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt." Then God gave Moses 2 stone tablets with the 10 rules written on them. So here's Moses looking up, and there's the tablets that God gave him. And you know what was on the 2 tablets? It was the 10 Commandments. The first one said, God is our only true God. Number 2 says, do not make statues of God. Number 3 was, do not misuse the Lord's name. Number 4 was, rest on the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Sabbath means Sunday. Number 5 is honor your father and your mother. Number 6 is do not murder. Number 7 is do not commit adultery. Number 8 is do not steal. Number 9 is do not lie. And number 10 is never want what belongs to your neighbor. So let's talk about the 10 Commandments. So the first one was, you shall have no other gods before me. And God wants us to always put him first in our lives. Sometimes people put other things like money or power before God in their lives, and it never really makes them happy. And it doesn't make God happy either. See, like this fella here, he says they worship the money. Here's a man who has lots of money, and he's putting it before God rather than worshiping God first. And here's a man who looks kind of sinister, but he has lots of money, but I don't think he's going to be very happy with it. So always put God first in our lives, because he's the only true God. The second commandment is do not make statues of God. So sometimes people try to make things that look like God, or things that are not like God, but just things that they worship. So when the Israelites came out of Egypt, and Moses was up getting the 10 Commandments in the mountain, they made a cow out of pure gold. It was a solid gold cow. See it right there? And look at all of them down there dancing around and everything and worshiping the cow. So God doesn't want us to do that. He is our only true God, and he should be the only one that we worship. The third commandment is do not misuse the Lord's name. So we shouldn't, what people call, swear when using Jesus or God's name. Sometimes when people get mad, they'll swear, and they really shouldn't. Try to think of something else to say, like dag nabbit or dad burn it, rather than swearing. So here, Peppa Pig is pretending to swear, but we all know that she would never swear. So never use a 4-letter word, okay? All right, the fourth commandment was rest on the Sabbath day or Sunday and keep it holy. So that means that we should go to church and we should rest and think about God for the rest of the day. Back years ago, not too many years ago, about 50 years, I'd say, maybe 55 years ago, all the businesses were closed on Sunday. The restaurants were closed, the stores were closed. Everybody was closed so they could go to church and worship God. We don't do that anymore, but that was the reason why they were closed. So just like our church, these folks are going to church, and we should worship like they do. And then go home and rest and think about God. The fifth rule is honor your mother and your father. So you should love your mom and dad and always listen to them. They give you rules to live by so that you can grow up and be healthy and happy kids and adults. So respect your parents and live in a way that will bring them honor and not shame or trouble. So you should love your mom and dad just like your mom and dad love you. And then you should respect your parents and listen to them, like these kids. All right, the sixth rule was do not murder. And of course, nobody would ever think about murdering somebody, but some people did in those days. So God doesn't want anybody to kill anybody. Jesus took this commandment a little bit further and does not want us to hurt anyone or be really mad at them, because that means we have an intent to be angry and maybe hurt somebody, which we don't want to do. So we remember in Genesis the story of Cain and Abel, where Cain was jealous of Abel, and he went out with a club and he ended up murdering him. So we don't want to be like that, because sometimes when you get too angry at somebody, you can go too far. And you know what? When you're mad at somebody, it's not very much fun, is it? Because then you're mad, they're mad, and you're not really happy. So try not to be angry with your friends. And the seventh commandment is do not commit adultery, and that's for grown-ups. So husbands and wives, when they get married, they promise to love and stay with each other and not commit adultery with anybody. So husbands and wives should respect each other and live for happily ever after. So the seventh rule is this happily married couple, or just getting married, is they're keeping their wedding promise. And everybody, even Homer and Marge, are happily married. All right, the eighth rule is do not steal. So taking things that don't belong to us is wrong, and it hurts somebody else. So we don't want to hurt anybody else. And you shouldn't steal anything anyhow, just because even if it's something small that seems insignificant, you should always ask first. So don't steal anything. Like robbers steal stuff from your house and you never get it back, and that hurts people because they lose something that they really need. So I'm not sure about this one, but I didn't see anything in the Bible about stealing second base in baseball, so I'm pretty sure that's probably the only way you can steal something. Number 9 is do not lie. So, it's always best to always tell the truth. When you lie, it can hurt someone else, and you'll have to live with your lie, and sometimes that's not a very easy thing to do. Even little white lies you shouldn't do because it hurts other people. So, and sometimes, and I don't think this would happen to you, but sometimes your nose could get big if you tell a lie, like Pinocchio. So, all right, and rule number 10 is you never want what belongs to your neighbor. So it kind of means what the commandment says: you shall not covet your neighbor's house, goods, or wives, or whatever. So, so basically, it means you want something that somebody has, and you can't have it, and it makes you jealous and it makes you mad. So, like in this picture here, is a little girl who is really coveting her friend's ice cream cone. So we don't want that to happen. Here's another one where a little boy with a pretzel really wants his friend's chocolate popsicle. So he's coveting something that doesn't belong to him, it belongs to somebody else. And you shouldn't covet any of your neighbor's good, even if it's ugly cows. So remember not to want anything that your neighbor has. Well, that's basically what the 10 Commandments or 10 rules are. And these are rules that God gave us to live by, so we can live with our neighbors in peace and happiness, and our family, as well as loving God, which is what we really want to do. Jesus in the Gospel of Mark said the 2 greatest commandments were, love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul, and with all your mind and all your strength. And the second is to love your neighbor as yourself. So always remember that. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor as yourself. All right, thanks, kids. I hope you all have a good day today. And remember to love God and remember to love your neighbor, okay? All right, take care. Have a good day. Bye.